All right, we are going to look at Chapter 2 now, which is student diversity. And the questions that we're thinking about in terms of this are, how do you support your staff while they are teaching a diverse student population? And what is your position statement on culturally relevant teaching? So those are two questions for you to kind of think about as we go through our text. If you look here, this is a statement. In our multicultural society, culturally responsive teaching reflects democracy as its highest level. It means you complete the sentence. What does that mean to you? What do you think? When you hear that, what do you think? Joyce Taylor Gibson said it like this, and she said, "It is doing whatever it takes to ensure that every child is achieving and ever moving toward realizing his or her potential." Chapter 2 does a great job of defining terms, explaining misconceptions in regard to culture and language. It does a good job, and it talks a lot about student diversity, and it can be very much of a challenge for leadership. And you need to remember, as we're going through this, we're talking about instructional leadership. It's you as the coach or the assistant principal or the principal or the team leader or any person who is a leader in your school. We're thinking in terms of that, not in teaching in the classroom. We're talking about how do we support our staff while they're teaching a diverse group of children in their classroom. There's two sections that are actually from our team general educator rubric, and the instruction part of it, and they require our teachers to recognize learning difficulties, student interest, and cultural heritage. And those look like this. So if you look on your screen, it says the teacher consistently organizes the content so that it is personally meaningful and relevant to students. And then the next one is the teacher knowledge of students there. That he practices each student's anticipated learning difficulties, incorporates student interest and cultural heritage, and provides differentiated instructional methods and content to ensure children have the opportunity to master what is being taught. So as you read the chapter and as you think about what you have to offer teachers as a resource in order to prepare them to be able to teach everybody's children, to teach a diverse classroom, how are you going to help them to realize these standards in their classroom? So the question is, what if we encouraged our faculty to think like this? I may have to move my webcam over there and then lost my whole screen. So we'll go back and we can pop that right back up. Look at that. So as instructional leaders, you and your teachers can, and the big thing from our text is that we learn from these families, that we don't dwell on their deficits, which I think we do a lot of times. We get our scores, we get the information. Instructional leaders divide our classrooms up, and they give the teachers classrooms that have different ability groupings, and we're focusing on the deficit as opposed to focusing on the strengths. Beth Dahl says that we need to change our classrooms instead of thinking about changing our kids, which is a good point. So we need to look at how we as instructional leaders are going to alter classrooms, help our teachers alter the classrooms in order to meet the needs of these diverse learners. So rather than focus on achievement gaps and focus on the gaps that the students may have, we need to focus on the strengths of the students and not the deficits. That's very important, and that would be very interesting to think about. So if we're focusing on the strengths and not the deficits, what does that mean? How are we as instructional leaders going to lead the way? How are we going to help our teachers embrace diversity? What are we going to do? One of the comments that the text makes is that we're supposed to help our teachers create a classroom that supports resilience. Well, resilience is that inevitable quality that allows some people to be knocked down by life and come back even stronger than ever. Rather than letting failure overcome them and drain their resolve, they find a way to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. So how do you help your teachers create a classroom that supports this resilience? And as instructional leaders, this is what this chapter is all about for us. So the class should be a safe and orderly environment. What does that mean? It means that it's a place where the students can learn and they feel safe to make decisions, to make comments, to make academic strides, be able to believe in their own ability to learn, to have that academic achievement. They have to be able to control their own behaviors, to be able to make sure that the classroom is safe, so have to have good classroom management. As we're going to see in chapters to come, we'll discuss a lot of this. And then self-determination academically. They're able to make choices, set goals, and to follow through. And all of those things help with a safe and orderly environment. And as instructional leaders, we have to help with that part of the classroom too, to train our teachers to be good classroom managers. There should be a positive student-teacher relationship. The teacher should have a caring teacher. If you have a caring teacher, research shows that consistently student relationships that are good with teachers who care, that's associated with better students' performance and school performance, especially with our kids who face very serious challenges in their lives. Effective peer relations are critical for connecting students to school, and then of course home and school relationships are important too. There should be an environment where the student feels like they fit in as a learner, that they are taught to their needs. There's a lot of discrepancy, different point of views about learning styles. If you read in your chapter, there's actually a point and then a counterpoint, which is a very interesting argument, especially with all the multiple intelligence and that kind of thinking that we've been taught about. Do we want to share those with our teachers, or do we want to take them a different route? So having an environment where the learner actually fits in, if they fit in socially, where the social structures are actually productive for them, where it's similar to maybe what they've coming from their home. And then participation structures are the biggest part of it too. It's very interesting. Participation instructions are those classroom norms that have to be explicitly taught and stated, and sometimes teachers don't do that, and kids don't know when to raise hands and when not to raise hands, or when it's appropriate to speak or not to speak, and their culture or their life or their legacy that they live may ask them to do a totally separate thing than what we ask them to do when they're at school. Students should experience academic success, and that success should be recognized. Academic success is important. Recognizing it is even more important, and not just saying good job. It's explicitly stating what they did well. And instructional leaders have to set that example for classroom teachers in order for classroom teachers to be able to do that and give good academic feedback to their students. Teachers, and I think this is one of the things that I struggle with this, being a teacher, and my instructional leader helps me with that, and me being an instructional coach, I have to help other teachers with. It says teachers must teach for the student and not for the test. And I'm not saying that we don't teach children how to take the test, but what I'm saying is that the most important part is if we get too caught up in that part of it, we'll forget to teach the kids, because we're too concerned about our scores and what we look like and what happens to us as teachers. And instructional leaders have to be very aware of that and help teachers work through that in order for them to help their students to be taught in the way that's most appropriate for them. The next one is teachers must learn, and I'll switch this over here again and lose our feed. Teachers must learn who their students are and understand their backgrounds. It is so very important for us to understand the legacies of our students, and for us to understand where they come from, who they come from, and acknowledge that in the classroom. So these are just some ways that we can help teachers create a classroom that supports resilience. The chapter has got some good resources in it, and your assignment within this chapter hopefully will take you a little bit further and have you to use what you've read in the chapter, and then also use some other resources in order to be able to complete a scenario for a teacher coming in to talk to you. So your assignment for chapter 2 is going to be that a teacher at your school is struggling with a diverse classroom of learners. You have done an announced observation already, and her area of refinement is teacher knowledge of students. So you're going to have a meeting with her to discuss this area of refinement and how she's going to strengthen herself, and you're going to create a plan of action. That information is located on Blackboard in a content folder. So good luck to you as you begin to create all of that. Thank you for listening, and thank you for watching the video.